Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. Today we're going to do an autopsy on the Disney Star Wars trilogy and really talk about what it has failed to accomplish and the opportunities that it had set before it. I don't really want to get into Rey being Mary Sue. I don't want to get into the agenda issue that the movies faced. I don't want to get into uh, some of the other more hammered on failings of the movies. I really just want to talk about what could have been. I really liked The Force Awakens. I thought it was a fun movie. I thought it laid out a lot of interesting plot threads that had a great deal of promise moving forward. And then it all just vanished in a puff of smoke with The Last Jedi. The first failing, the greatest failing, what I think killed it, really. Uh, they didn't plan anything. And as a writer, I'm not the kind of person that plots out absolutely everything from the beginning. I go back and I do edits and so on. But if you're gonna put together a trilogy of movies, especially if you're gonna do so with different directors, you have to have the basic concepts laid down. You have to know where it's gonna go. You have to know um, all the major beats of the plot. They didn't do that. We know they didn't do that. They've said they didn't do that. There was no plan. They just gave it to J.J. Abrams and said, run with it. And he did. And then they gave it to Rian Johnson and said, run with it. And he did. And then they found out that the two movies don't link up at all. And you get Rise of Skywalker, where J.J. Abrams is trying to fix a lot of what was dropped. And he's just not really able to do it. So let's look at some of what was in The Force Awakens that I really liked. Finn was super promising. Finn, you had this stormtrooper that went through training, worked on the ships, and then when he went to his first real engagement, it wasn't a battle, it was just murdering civilians, and he freaked out. He ran away. He goes from being a coward in the movie to being brave and putting his life on the line for people he cares about. It's a great developmental journey. Um, there may be some hints that he's force sensitive, but we really don't have anything after that. The depth of character they could have really gone into with this former First Order guy who completely rejects all of his programming and goes from coward to hero and turns against the system that raised him. There's a lot there. There's a lot of great storytelling they could have done, and it totally vanishes. So, all that great characterization that was there in The Force Awakens to be taken hold of and run with, they just throw it away. Um, and then moving on to Kylo Ren. One of my friends hates Kylo Ren, and not for the reasons a lot of people don't like him, but just from the get go, he didn't like him. He wasn't impressed. Um, I liked him. The more I think about it, I think I was. It was really just because of the spectacle of him using the Force to stop that blaster bolt. It did its job. It made me think, here's a really powerful villain. Um, I liked his voice too when he had the mask on. I thought it was neat. The costume in general was kind of a letdown. It's pretty bland. A lot of promise. Adam Driver, I think, really good actor. I think we know he's not fully trained yet. He's got this uh, villain boss in Snoke who's intimidating, mysterious. You don't know what he's going to bring to the table. You don't know his origins. You don't know what he's capable of or what his objectives are. So there was a lot there to be explored in the next movie. And what do we get in The Last Jedi? He dies badly. No exploration into his origins. No exploration into what his motives are. It's just him being kind of a weird looking jerk, basically. Um, Kylo Ren gets rid of his mask, which I think is a big mistake. I think without the mask, he makes an intimidating villain, and that's probably just the writing, really, more than his face. Um, because every time he has his mask off, he's just kind of a whiny git. Um, so you kind of associate the two, I think. Could be wrong, but that's how I see it. Um, as for you know what happened between him and Luke, what happened to motivate him to the dark side, why was he willing to kill his father? None of this is explored very well. It is explored as to what happened between him and Luke, and it's kind of a letdown. Bait then changed his mind, and Kylo Ren freaks. As far as Snoke, I've kind of already covered that. He dies badly. We find out nothing about him. He's not important. Um, so instead of being the intimidating greater villain to Kylo Ren's villain, uh, he just turns into nothing, which is a huge letdown. So Rey, again, interesting character from a conceptual standpoint, but she she's probably the biggest drop ball out of the whole thing, because Rey had potential like you wouldn't believe. Or she could be a gigantic Mary Sue. What we got was a gigantic Mary Sue. She had these ability to tap into the Force, use powers she'd never trained with. She was surprisingly good with the lightsaber. All of which could have been explained with really interesting plot points, like if, just as an example, she was already a trained Jedi, and when whatever happened between Luke and Kylo went down and Kylo destroyed the Jedi Academy, if she couldn't handle it at the time or felt like she couldn't handle it and then had Luke suppress her memory, that's something that's been done before in Star Wars and Knights of the Old Republic. And then her experiences in The Force Awakens were reawakening her abilities first and then her memories. That could have been really interesting. There was a lot of other fan theories out there about what was going on that could have been really interesting. Instead, Ryan Johnson in The Last Jedi tells us that it doesn't matter where she comes from. Her parents were just some lowlifes that didn't care about her, and she doesn't matter. And now she's a character with a whole bunch of powers for no apparent reason, who's better than a master level Jedi without any training, who's just better at everything. Poorly done. Okay, so moving on from Rey, you have Poe. I don't think Poe had much potential to me after the Force Awakens. He was just your pilot. He's a good pilot. He's interesting as a character. I just didn't think he was going to go anywhere, and he didn't. So, there's that. I thought the actor did a good job playing him. I kind of like the character concept. I just don't think they went anywhere with it. The last one I would really want to hit on is Phasma. Um, Phasma was a giant waste of time and a huge disappointment even in The Force Awakens. But again, juxtaposed to Finn, she could have been a great foil for Finn. You could have gone into a lot of depth between the two characters, and maybe, she really screwed with Finn in the past, caused him a lot of problems. You could have given him a really hatred for her. Maybe part of that's why he leaves the First Order. He should have lost when he fought her in The Force Awakens. He should have lost again fighting her in The Last Jedi, and then finally overcome her in the third movie. That would have been a great story. You would have had great development between these two characters. Instead, Phasma falls through a hole and dies in the Last Jedi. Um, and she's even characterized really well in a novel, but they just gave her nothing. And she could have been this great foil to Finn, and you get nothing out of it, which is a real shame. When you really look at where things fell apart, you had all these great ideas in The Force Awakens that could have been picked up and taken somewhere. Um, really feed off of J.J. Abrams' obsession with mystery and use it to tell a great story and to give us these great characters. And instead, in The Last Jedi, almost all of it's dropped, and what isn't dropped is ruined. And you get something else completely. And then the third movie has to pick up from basically nothing because there's nothing left after Last Jedi. All the plot threads have been dropped or destroyed. The Resistance has been all but destroyed. Snoke is gone. Where do you even go from there? So they kind of ignore bits and have to struggle with some stuff. So they bring in Emperor Palpatine, which to me just ruins all of it. Because now Anakin's sacrifice is meaningless. Luke's actions in Return of the Jedi are meaningless. The fall of the Empire is meaningless. So really, I think if you want to look at the Star Wars Disney's sequel trilogy and ask yourself, where did it fail? What killed it? What made it fall apart? It's The Last Jedi. The Force Awakens has problems. Rise of Skywalker has problems, but a lot of the Rise of Skywalker's problems come from The Last Jedi not doing any of the character development that was there to be done, or any of the plot development that was there to be done after The Force Awakens. And basically, you have a trilogy with only 2 movies, and one of them, the last movie, is trying to make up for big giant gaps that exist between the two of them. I don't think anyone could have saved Rise of Skywalker. I think someone could have done it better. I think they could have not brought back Palpatine and still made a good standalone movie. But as a trilogy, I don't think it could have been saved after Last Jedi. There was too much that was dropped or destroyed. You made Rey go from a compelling character to a gigantic Mary Sue. The Last Jedi just dropped everything or destroyed it. Take your pick. I think I don't think it could have been saved. I don't. Um, Rise of Skywalker's got major problems with plot holes and agenda and other issues. If you sit down and just watch it for entertainment, I think it can be entertaining. From what I've heard, people that just sit down and watch it and don't think about canon, don't think about um, how the Force works and stuff like that, they enjoy it. So I think it's possible to enjoy it. You know, I I think they could have taken just a couple of plot points and just a couple of character threads, like Finn and his relation to Phasma, and Rey and where she comes from, and Kylo as a deeper character. They could have really, really elevated Star Wars to another level. You know, they didn't. Toy sales are way down. Ticket sales are going down with every movie. General interest is way down. And I think you can blame 95% of it on The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi, and Kathleen Kennedy, the executive producer, who decided they didn't need any kind of plan. I think that's where your faults lie. Um, Hopefully, moving forward, The Mandalorian looks interesting. Uh, Jedi Fallen Order looks interesting. I've been playing that a little bit. It's fun. I think you can have good Star Wars moving forward. I think Rogue One was good, but I think the Disney sequel trilogy just dropped the ball so hard. I don't know if they can come back from it. You know, um, And it's just, to me, it's just a big disappointment because it could have been amazing. And Disney could have been remembered for not just reviving Star Wars, but taking it up a notch. And instead, they're going to be remembered for doing what? You know, it's unfortunate, but it's what we've got. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.